Hey, let's continue with Burn for Me, the book number one in the Hidden Legacy uh, series by the writing team that goes under Alona Andrews. Um, so yes, this was Nevada, Nevada Baylor having to track down a psychopathic pyrotechnic and return him to his family, having to team up with Mad Dog Rogan, super powerful prime who can control all non-inorganic matter, and we find out in these chapters has various other talents, being telepathic being one of them we already knew, but other things because he needs to find one of the guy's accomplices who's a kind of a young dumb guy who his mother desperately wants to have, you know, basically rescued from being death by cop and all that sort of stuff. And so they are continuing on their investigation. They go to um, this weird kind of swampy area, which I guess sucked up one kind of an airport that they actually tried to build there. Um, a hillbilly, um, scary guy tries to intimidate and then kill them. Mad Dog basically slices off the front of a building and squashes them. Sort of the opposite of there's a thing of oh, this great silent film guy, Old Stoneface. I can't remember his name, but he's got this whole thing, Buster Keaton, where he stands and this in the facade of a building slams down and it misses it. He's standing in just the precise spot so that like a window at the top, open window at the top, goes over him and he doesn't get touched. Well, this is the opposite of that. A side building comes down and just squashes him like a bug. Peaches, I think it is. So they go visit Bug, who we will actually see later in book four in a much better place. But at the moment, he is completely strung out ex-vet who has this non-physical swarm in him, which allows him to kind of process all sorts of data super quick so he can really find people really quickly. He finds Adam Levine, of course, Adam, whatever the hell his name is. But of course, it turns out actually he's very easy to find because he's on the news as well, because he's doing yet again another thing where he's attacking in a building. But they notice in the background that there's some firefighters going into another building. It's like, oh, and they're evacuating it. And some of those firefighters have rifles. Okay, that's what he's actually after. They can't get at him because he's like basically surrounded in a giant kind of vortex thingy. So they decide to go after the firefighters. They do. Nevada has to shoot a couple of them. They get this strange bit of jewelry. Basically, a fire thing goes straight. Is it a fire thing goes straight at him? Something goes straight at him. So basically, he has to, as I think Nevada says, like the floor swallowed us. Well, actually, the floor did swallow them um, because Mad Dog used his powers to make the floor swallow them up, and most of the building came down on them, but he protected them, and they get sandwiched together. Basically, he's spooning her, and it's like it's very intimate, and they have to spend in this way, and they have kind of an intimate conversation, and it's like, oh, it's very hot, very hot. Um, and they make it back to the thing, and he gets to meet the family, because this is definitely, that's the thing that I probably didn't mention in my review of Sapphire Flames, which is the same as this, is that we have very much the family here. We have grandma, we have the mother, we have, as I think I mentioned, we have Catalina, uh, Avril, and Burn. At this point, we don't have Bug, because Bug isn't, as previously mentioned, is in the swamp area. And meets them. The mother threatens him. He says, like, I know who you are, Sergeant, because she's ex-military, and it's like, you threaten me again, you'll be a definite threat to me, and I will act accordingly. Basically, threatens her right back. Um, they they do finally trace. There is like, who else is in on this, and what he's actually employs Bug, and Bug has found that there's this blonde woman going to that bank, um, and she has a connection to Adam, like from 4 years back of a picture. But it's like, there's the picture. She's gone down into the thing as a tour, like, oh, I'm interested in going into this thing, um, and has tagged it. So they need to question her. He picks up the phone, says, meet me at this mall. She says, sure, because she's comes from a family where the magic is slowly tailing off. It's like, the grandfather was maybe a prime, then it's significant, and then we're getting to kind of like average. She's a fading power line in her family, which has basically marked her as genetically not worth anybody's time to actually marry and breed with, because these families are all about breeding for genetic lines, and she's not she's not good. Anything that she's going to produce is going to be insignificant. Um, so she's desperate to get a prime, and indeed, Mad Dog is a good-looking bachelor, super powerful prime. So she, of course, is going to come and meet him. They come to meet. She's not Catalina. Nevada is there with her, and she's like, and they trying to ask her like yes or no questions, but she's just like all kind of seductive things. And she's like, and finally it's like, well, why don't you touch me? Like, are you a tactile? And it's like, what's a tactile? Is Nevada's thought. And it's like, oh, and it turns, and she's having the this woman is having kind of orgasms while her clothing is slowly braiding around her into a noose, and Nevada is like yelling at him to stop, and like pulls out a gun to tell him to stop. And she's like, no, we need to get answers. And he starts to strangle her, and she's like clawing at it, and it's like, and they question her, and it's like, yes, that's what she was there for to do. No, she doesn't know what was in the thing. And you're all, and like when they finally release her, she actually focuses most of her anger on Nevada, saying, you bitch, I'm going to be on the top when the change comes, the great change comes. You'll be on the bottom, not worth anything. And and it's just like, and then she runs away, completely humiliated. And you know she's Nevada is really pissed at Mad Dog for this, of like, more kind of ruthlessness, killing. And this thing, and they do start talking about like, well, what's this tactile thing. It's like, well, I can show you. And it turns out it's this, basically the magic sex touch. And the thing is, when he starts, it's like, okay, you can do it just once. And when he starts doing, it's like, oh, I'm getting the feedback. You're totally hot for me, and now I'm totally hot for you, and we're totally hot for each other. And she's like, yeah, it's like, it's consensual. It's not kind of consensual. It's overwhelming. They're both overwhelmed by their emotions. She ends up using her shockers on him to get him to stop. And she says, like, I was saying stop. It's like, well, it's hard to take it seriously when you're moaning my name. It's like, I was not moaning your name. I was telling you to fucking stop. Well, it's this, okay, it's a hot erotic romance novel. I don't know if I should be getting into the whole sexual politics of it. I don't know. I go one way or the other. You read these books for the hot sexiness. It is a little on the non-consensual side, I would say. Yeah. It's it was definitely described as highly erotic, sexy times. It's just going to be a matter of how you react to that. Anyways, that all happens, which is probably the key main reason we're actually here. And then suddenly these people show up, um, Mad Dog gets zapped. She has to shoot one person. Um, Someone who she thinks is a good Samaritan is like, "Can I help you? Can I help you?" It's like, no, it's this older man. It's like, get away!" And he shoots out these wires at her, catches her, strangling her. She uses her shockers on him, kills him. At which point, Mad Dog, who had gotten disabled by a lightning mage for a bit of time, suddenly is back up. They take care of the rest. And she's like, "What kind of?" And because it's a wind mage that comes after them, and he's like, "Draw like an amplifying circle around me," because this wind mage is whipping like invisible missiles at them, slashing at them. So she does that, and he drops a complete entire Greyhound bus on the dude who is flitting around at this point, squashes him like a bug. It's like, "You call these amplification circle?" It's like, "It's crappy." It's like, she throws the chalk at him. It's like, "Drive me home." But yes, so the main takeaway on all this is, yeah, Adam, this isn't something that Adam has organized himself. He's not smart enough, organized enough, and does not, and can, like, they figured out that basically he must be using an illusion mage team to keep him hidden. And there's no way that he could, afford it or even be just taken seriously enough to have as much of a team like this together. So there's something major going on above that. And this whole thing about the change, the revolution or something like that is happening. And it's like, okay, there's the big bad that is going to be behind Adam, which I guess we'll see if we actually get, if it's most likely this is going to get hinted at in this book. We'll deal with Adam, and then we're going to have several more books where we're going to deal with big bad, the organized, actual non-psychopath, but maybe even more insane person who's trying to upend the entire system or something like that. That's my theory. All right, I will leave that here for tonight, and see you tomorrow.